morning, You Can Heal family. Starting out today, reading Judges chapter 8. My name is Shena, and we've been reading through the Old Testament. And yesterday, we read about how the Midianites were defeated under the leadership of Gideon, which is a really good Bible story that most of us have heard in Sunday school. So we're going to keep continuing on, and chapter 8 starts with a question. And it says, Then the people of Ephraim asked Gideon, Why have you treated us this way? Why didn't you send for us when you first went out to fight the Midianites? And they argued heatedly with Gideon. But Gideon replied, What have I done compared to you? Aren't the last grapes of Ephraim's harvest better than the entire crop of my little clan of Abiezer? God gave you victory over Oreb and Zeb, the generals of the Midianite army. What have I done compared to that? When the men of Ephraim heard Gideon's answer, they were no longer angry. Gideon then crossed the Jordan River with his 300 men, and though they were exhausted, they continued to chase the enemy. When they reached the cove, Gideon asked the leaders of the town, Will you please give my warriors some food? They're very tired. I am chasing Zebah and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian. But the leaders of the Cuth replied, You haven't caught Zebah and Zalmunna yet. Catch them first, and then we will feed your warriors. So Gideon said, After the Lord gives me victory over Zebah and Zalmunna, I will return and tear your flesh with the thorns and briars of the wilderness. From there, Gideon went up to Peniel and asked for food, but he got the same answer. So he said to the people of Peniel, After I return in victory, I will tear down this tower. By this time, Zebah and Zalmunna were in Karkor with a remnant of 15,000 warriors. All that remained of the allied armies of the east, for 120,000 had already been killed. Gideon circled around by the caravan route east of Nobah and Joshbehah, taking the Midianite army by surprise. Zebah and Zalmunna, the two Midianite kings, fled, but Gideon chased them down and captured all their warriors. Verse 13. After this, Gideon returned by way of Har's Pass. There he captured a young man from Succoth and demanded that he write down the names of all the 77 rulers and leaders in the town. Gideon then returned to Succoth and said to the leaders, Here are Zebah and Zalmunna. When we were here before, you taunted me, saying, You haven't got Zebah and Zalmunna yet. Catch them first, and then we will feed your exhausted warriors. Then Gideon took the leaders of the town and taught them a lesson, punishing them with thorns and briars from the wilderness. He also knocked down the town of Peniel and killed all the men in the town. Then Gideon asked Zebah and Zalmunna, The men you killed at Tabor, what were they like? Like you, they replied. They all had the look of a king's son. They were my brothers, Gideon exclaimed, As surely as the Lord lives, I wouldn't kill you if you hadn't killed them. Turning to Jether, his oldest son, he said, Kill them. But Jether did not draw his sword, for he was only a boy and was afraid. Then Zebah and Zalmunna said to Gideon, Don't ask a boy to do a man's job. Do it yourself. So Gideon killed them both and took the royal ornaments from the necks of their camels. Oh, look here, even the Bible trying to get someone else to do their dirty work. Oh, jeez. All right, let's keep going here. We're still in chapter 8. Gideon Judges is the next section. Verse 22. Then the Israelites said to Gideon, Be our ruler. You and your son and your grandson will be our rulers, for you have rescued us from Midian. But Gideon replied, I will not rule over you, nor will my son. The Lord will rule over you. However, I have one request. Each of you can give me an earring out of the treasurer's out of the treasures you collected from your fallen enemies. The enemies being Ishmaelites all wear gold earrings. Gladly, they replied. They spread out a cloak, and each one threw in a gold earring he had gathered. The weight of the gold earrings was 43 pounds, not including the crescent end pendants, the royal clothing of the kings, or the chains around the necks of their camels. Gideon made a sacred ephod from the gold and put it in Orpah, his hometown. But soon all the Israelites prostituted themselves by worshiping it, and it became a trap for Gideon and his family. That is the story of how Israel subdued Midian, which never recovered. Throughout the rest of Gideon's lifetime, about 40 years, the land was at peace. Then Gideon, son of Joash, returned home. He had 70 sons, for he had many wives. Oh my goodness, 70 sons. He also had a concubine in Shechem, who bore him a son named Abimelech. Gideon died when he was very old, and he was buried in the grave of his father Joash at Orpah in the land of the clan of Abiezer. Confusion after Gideon dies. As soon as Gideon was dead, the Israelites prostituted themselves by worshiping the images of Baal, making Baal-berith their god. They forgot the Lord their God, who had rescued them from all their enemies surrounding them, nor did they show any loyalty to the family of Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, despite all the good he had done for Israel. What do they say? Out of sight, out of mind. Oh, and we're back at it. We're back at it again, being disobedient. So, a page or so back, there's a section here called Israel's Judges from chapters 8 to 12 of this book. So let's read this, and it names all 7 of the judges and just tells a little bit about each of them. So the little paragraph says, after the death of Joshua, the nation of Israel was ruled by judges, heroic military deliverers, for about 300 years until the united monarchy was established under King Saul. The era of the judges was a time of instability and moral depravity, a dark period when the people did whatever seemed right in their own eyes. Judges 17:6. The judges tried to rally the people against their enemies, but many of the judges were morally weak, and the people often turned to idolatry. Along with the well-known judges portrayed on this map, there were several minor judges whose battles are not recorded in the Bible. And the names of those judges are Abimelech, Tola, Jair, Ibzan, Elon, and Abdon. So the first judge here, and it points, the arrow's pointing in this near the Sea of Galilee. It says, Othniel, the first judge, defeated the Canaanites at Debir in Judges chapter 1, 11 through 13. He also delivered Israel from Cushan Rishathaim, king of Aram, in a separate battle location. And then it skips around the second judge, which is in between Jerusalem and Debir. It says, Ehud, a great-grandson of Benjamin, delivered Israel from the oppression by King Eglon of Moab, in Judges chapter 3 to verses 12 through 30. Third judge is Shamgar, a relatively minor judge who killed 600 men with an ox goad, delivered Israel from the Philistines. Okay. And that's in Judges 3:31 through 5:6. The fourth judge is Deborah, a woman judge, also called a prophet, and Barak, her military commander, subdued the stubborn Canaanites led by Jabin and Sisera in a fierce battle at the Kishon River. And that river is right on the Mediterranean Sea. I guess it was called the Great Sea. portion of this map. And then the fifth judge was Gideon, a mighty man of valor, led 300 selected warriors in defeating the Midianite forces in Judges 6:8, and we just read that yesterday. Remember the ones who walked like a dog and cupped their hands into battle. And Judge 6 is Jephthah, son of a prostitute, delivered Israel from the Ammonites, and that was in Judges 11. Verse 1 through chapter 12, verse 7. So we haven't gotten that far yet. And he was kind of near the Jordan River, the arrow points to. And the last one is Samson, a man of great physical strength but moral weakness, led Israel for 20 years. And we all know that story. Captured by the Philistines, he enslaved at Gaza. Samson called on God and prevailed over the enemy when he destroyed a pagan temple in the city. Samson died with many of the Philistines when the building collapsed. So we're going to hear that story when we get to Judges 13 through 16. And a lot of us are familiar with that because Samson and what was her name? Delilah, right? He ended up cutting his hair and lost his strength. So that's a good story. But we'll get to that when we get there. Right now, we're just finishing chapter 8, and we're going to read chapter 9 tomorrow. So that's it, guys. That's our time together today. I'm trusting that you woke up hopeful, and you're going about your day. Just having hope, right? Is that what I'm trying to say? Or you're going to bed hopeful, right? You're in one of those situations already. So we'll be back tomorrow, you guys, reading Judges chapter 9. I'm getting ready to go to bed, so for me it's going on 10 o'clock right now. I'm getting sleepy. So I love you guys. Remember, we're meeting over Zoom this Saturday. Oh gosh, I think it's the 17th. I don't know. Saturday morning at 8, not 7 this time, but 8 o'clock. The reason the time changed is because Bren is off for the month with ballet because of the summer over the next couple months. So I'll let you guys sleep in a little longer. Normally we've got to get up and leave the house at 9. Getting ready to leave for ballet, but it's summertime, so we'll push the time back a little bit. All right. Always remember, true healing begins with self-love. Why? Because God is love, and He lives on the inside of you. We'll talk tomorrow, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you for hanging with me in the comments and letting me know you're still with me. We'll talk soon. Bye.